Michelle Andrishak is a fun and ferociously focused certified management consultant, author, professional public speaker, and award-winning business coach who is passionate about empowering women in business and leadership around the world. She's the founder of WOW, International Women in Business and Leadership, and she integrates proven business success strategies that promote joy, productivity, and profitability with tools that help you develop the mindset to become wildly successful in your entrepreneurial journey. And today we are going to be talking about how to build a credibility campaign that increases your cash flow, which, gosh, those are credibility campaigns are hugely important. And I think sometimes overlooked because everybody is so focused on lead generation that they're not focused on accountability or credibility building, which is what makes people buy. So I'm excited to dive into this today.
Oh, Amy, I'm so excited to be here and share about the credibility campaign model and really how it does bring cash flow into your business. It's the only way to be profitable. And I stand on what I call my proverbial soapbox of people need to know, like, and trust you.
Yes.
Especially in this environment, and you'll probably hear it from all the experts in your summit today. Know, like, and trust. Know, like, and trust. But how do you get there? And how do you work on that know, like, and trust model so it becomes a real strategy in your business? So that's why I developed, my 5-week program called From Credibility to Cash Flow. And it really is mapping out that customer journey. So the first thing you need to know about building credibility is that consumer behavior's changed. Every single one of your experts has said it today, and I'm sure they'll continue saying it. What was your most valuable clients' pain points 6 months ago? Totally changed today.
Oh yeah, the
Absolutely
whole world
changed.
has changed. Now, but here's the important thing. They still have pain points. They still have challenges. In fact, they have more. They're just different.
Absolutely. And so, but they also want, from a credibility perspective, to understand that you get them.
Yeah.
It's like talking to your best friend and saying, hey girl, I know you're probably sitting at your desk looking at a massive confusion right now. I know it. I get it. I've been there too. Here's a couple of points that we can work on to develop that clarity, that confidence, that community, and the cash flow that you need to continue on and take that next step. So you really, when building your credibility campaign, it really is about proving to your most valuable client, I call them my MVCs, your most valuable client, that you get them. That's the first part of the know in the know, like, and trust. There's 2 prongs in the know. You have to prove that you know what your most valuable customer's day looks like. What keeps her up at night, what keeps him up at night, what stresses him out as soon as his or her feet hit the floor. What are they thinking about when they're brushing their teeth?
Right.
How if they're a mom or a dad, what's going on in their lives. You have to prove that you know what their day looks like and you understand it. And then wake up and ask yourself, and this is what I ask myself every day, is like, okay, how do I allow someone to get to know me today? And me as authentic Michelle Andrishak, not as a brand, not as a Nike or Coca-Cola. That's why I say, if I'm not fun with you, and if we're not ferociously focused on building your business, why are we doing it?
Right. Well, and if you think about like that marketing flow from when somebody becomes, they're totally unaware of you to they hire you, they go through different phases. Like they go through an awareness phase and then they go through a consideration phase. And I think that's where this becomes the most valuable, is when they're in consideration. Because at awareness, they're just kind of looking at you on a surface level, like, hey, over there, I see you. I see what you're up to. But they're not like, should I go over and have a conversation? Should I engage? And that's that spot where they're really starting to check you out and evaluate you against their needs and evaluate you against the other people in their pool. And you're really kind of setting what I call the pre-frame for the sales conversation. And so this spot, I think sometimes people get really focused on getting traffic so that new people can see them. but they're not as focused on how do I build that relationship once they're already looking. So do you have any specific tips of things that you've done or that you've had your clients do that have helped them in that space?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, developing, of course, that most valuable client avatar and speaking to their heart and their head and back to their heart, number one. But when you're looking at that consideration phase is building trust and really taking the stress out of asking your current clients for reviews and making sure you're the one that's responsible to access those authentic reviews about the solutions that you provide. Because face it, in this day and age, it doesn't matter what comes out of Michelle Andrishak's mouth. It's what is important that comes out of Michelle Andrishak's client's mouth.
Yes.
About their services. So when it comes to consideration, no one's going to believe what you say. You can do a ton of lead generation, of introductions and LinkedIn direct messages and all of those things. But until someone will step forward and say, you know what, working with Michelle has tripled my income or doubled my income, or now I have the clarity to move away from confusion. I know exactly what my customer journey looks like. That's when it's that promotion meets that consideration, and your person watching you, because everybody's watching, the person watching you is going, okay, maybe she's for me.
Yeah.
Maybe I'd like to have that 30-minute discovery call and see if we're the right fit. Or maybe she really does get me. And so it's that, and then from that, developing that trust and having that, like you said with our previous presenter, who was fantastic, was that making sure it's high impact in the first step of your customer's journey, whether it be, maybe it's a low ticket offer just to test drive you like you would test drive a vehicle. Expect to be test driven and allow that part of the customer journey to happen.
Yeah,
and then
I love
walk
it.
through and map that out.
Yes. And I'm glad you said map that out, because there's a few things that I think work really well in this phase that are actually terrible for lead generation. And so sometimes people discount the importance of them because they don't lead generate, but this is what they do. This is the moment for them. One of them is media appearances and mentions. Okay. So everyone thinks, oh, I'm going to get, into Fast Company because that's going to get me a ton of new leads. I'm going to go on local TV because that's going to get me a ton of new leads. It's actually not good for lead gen, but it's great for this, establishing the fact that you're an expert. So you go on TV or you get posted, printed in Fast Company or an industry publication that's respected for your clients. And then you share that with the people who are in that consideration phase. That's a huge piece of this puzzle, is you being able to have the right positioning your message in the right places to give it credibility. Because me saying it to my email list is not the same as me saying it on Steve's podcast or, like Fast Company or some of these other places. So that's one. And then the other thing that I think is really critical, which you touched on here, is testimonials. Testimonials. Do you have a strategy for collecting them? And do you have a strategy for using them and repurposing them?
Yeah.
Because it's so
Absolutely.
much more powerful to tell your clients' stories than it is to tell your own. And I know telling your story is important too, but gosh, your client stories just amplify the power behind the message that you have.
Absolutely. Well, I'm glad you said that, because in the 5-week journey that I do from credibility to cash flow, session 4 is all about testimonials and reviews, how to get them, how to repurpose them. And you know what? Nothing stresses your most valuable client out, no matter how much they love you, and they do love you. It's just, hey, would you write a testimonial for me? And then they go into vapor lock, right? So it's like, because they love you, they want it to be perfect, and their perfectionism shoots you and them in the foot, because they say, oh, I'll get it to you. I absolutely want to write the perfect testimonial for you, but they want to make it so perfect and so great that it stresses them out. And as soon as that
Right.
element of stress comes in, then they push us to the side of the desk. Then, if you live in a small town, you might even see them at the grocery store and they say, "Oh, Amy, I have to have that testimonial for you. I'll get it to you right away." The next month they see you at the store, they go into a different aisle because they know they still owe you. The
They're dogging
next
you.
month they're dogging you. And then 3 months after that, they see you pull into the supermarket parking lot and they're going, "Oh, I have to shop somewhere else now." Because there's so much stress and pressure. So take that off right away and say, "Amy, what was it like to work with me today?" And then you listen. And as you listen, you write down exactly what they say. "I'd love your feedback. What was your experience like today? What did you have an aha moment today? What was that?" And you get that feedback when they're in I say their happy zone.
Uh-huh.
And then they'll share with you what their experience was. You write it down and you say, "Well, Amy, thank you so much for that feedback. This would make a great testimonial. Would you mind if I use this in my promotional strategy?" And they love you and they'll say, "Of course, Amy, let's go ahead." And then
Mm-hmm.
you can shop in the same grocery store next month.
Yes, and they'll be happy to see you instead of feeling guilt. We really don't.
Yes.
I love, love, love that you pointed this out because I am guilty. I have done this before where it's like, "Hey, would you write me a testimonial?" And they want to, but not everybody's comfortable on camera. Not everybody loves to write, but everybody loves to talk. And if you capture it
Absolutely.
in that moment, it just makes it so much easier for them. I've actually had people do that for me. And it's funny how I never connected that, oh, I should do that for my clients, make it easier for them. But I've
We
loved
just
it on the
take the
receiver
stress
side.
out of it. It
Mm-hmm.
just takes the stress out of it. It takes the pressure off them. You don't have to wait an entire year before they get around to it.
Yes.
And so in session 4 of that journey, the 5-week journey, we look at what's good for testimonials, what's better, and what's best.
Yes.
And so
I
of
love
course
it.
best is always that video testimonial, that saying, "Hey, what was your experience like at the end of a session or an end of a strategy day? What did that look like?" And most people love you so much that they'll quickly be able to get on the phone and just share authentically, because what we want right now, especially when building that credibility campaign, is not the sham wow guy. In fact, we want exactly the opposite from the massive guerrilla marketing advertising that has been pushed down our throats for decades. We want authenticity. We want real connection. We don't want marketing and sales, because
Right.
that doesn't work anymore. We want connection, we want engagement, we want conversation. Now that will build credibility that leads to cash flow.
And credibility is such an important part of the journey. So I appreciate you being on and sharing with us today. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
How can our listeners get connected with you? Do you have a
Absolutely.
website you want to direct them to?
Yeah, well,
Awesome.
you can go to my website, wowbiztribe.com. That's WOWBIZTRIBE.com. And I also have a summit opportunity for your audience to
Awesome.
join me in that 5-week journey of building their credibility campaign. And I'm actually taking $500 off the price for summit viewers only. So if they register before the end of July, they'll get a $500 discount, just as my thank you to you and for them to signing on as
Awesome.
well.
And we'll drop the link into the chat. So thank you so much for being on with us today. We really appreciate you and your time and expertise.